other side, this is a different NIC, different network interface card, in order to talk to the other computers within the apartment. Okay? Are we okay in this concept? Okay. Now, with the 66.205.78.10 address, it still has its own network component, which is probably this part here, and its own node address, which is probably that. Can anyone tell me, well, but Tech, it doesn't seem to make any sense. How come this is also a local area network? Local to what?
AT&T.
It's local to AT&T. Okay? Many AT&T customers will share the first two of these numbers. Well, this is fictional, so don't even bother to check. But this is completely fictional. But according to this, many AT&T customers, especially within that neighborhood, will probably also have 66.205 as the network address, and only with a different number as the second part. Okay, is that okay? Because it is extremely important that you guys recognize that your IP address that goes out to your ISP is also formatted the same way. It has a network address component, it has a node component. Okay, now let's go back and talk a little bit about security, because this actually brings up a fairly serious security issue. Okay, earlier versions of Windows have, even current versions have Windows Share. Do you guys know what is Windows Share? Okay, a shared drive, a shared folder.
Yeah.
You can right-click on a folder in Windows and select Share within the properties, within the pop-up menu. And what happens is, it will basically advertise to every other computer on the same LAN, on the same work group, and say, hey guys, guess what? I got something to share here. Okay? Which is not a problem at home. In other words, if you look at this part of the network, and Tom, Dick, and Harry are good friends, and they got albums to share, which the RIAA will most definitely frown upon. But since it is within the apartment, and they can actually just crank up the volume anyway to share the music, so I guess sharing through the wire is not as big of a deal, especially when it is not stored, when it is just casted and played instantly and not stored. It is not the same as transmitting a file for the other guy to store and play it later. Okay, so Tom, Dick, and Harry can share music albums and whatnot, and Dick's computer may have a music folder, and he can declare the music folder to be shareable, okay, to all the other computers on the same Windows network. So that way Tom can navigate to here, Harry can navigate to here, as if it is a local folder. Is that okay so far? Do you guys understand what a Windows share is? Okay, so it's not a problem on this side. What if Tom says, well, you know what, I want to share with Dick and Harry too, since Dick is sharing his music collection. Tom says, I have a whole big collection of, trying to pick something here, share. Pictures, okay. Maybe he has a lot of college pictures and whatnot, and he wants to share that with Dick and Harry and say, look at our the pictures, the good times that we have in college and whatnot. So he makes this folder shareable as well. Now Windows, especially older versions of Windows, will basically say, oh, you have something to share, and I will make it visible. I will advertise that you have something to share to all the computers on your local area network. Okay, but which one is the local area network? This one or that one? They are both local area networks. Okay, this side is a small, tiny local area network. The network address is 192.168.0. The node address is 2, 3, and so on. The other side is a huge local area network. The network address is 66.205. This part is the node address. So when Tom's computer decides that I want to share this folder with the quote-unquote local area network, if he is not careful and the operating system is not doing anything to stop this, he is now telling all the other AT&T customers that have the same network address and say, hey guys, all 3,000 of you, I got a folder to share now. Okay? That's a problem. Okay? It is a problem even if the folder is read-only. Okay? But what if the folder is also marked read-write capable? Then you have a real big problem because those other 3,000 customers, guess what? It will pop up on their computers too. If they don't run a router, a firewall in between, and everybody is hooking up to the internet this way, the other 3,000 AT&T computers, when they navigate to my network place and pick Windows Network, guess what? Tom's computer is going to pop up. And not only that, unless Tom sets up something to protect his shared folder, shared printer, and whatnot, that resource will show up on the other 3,000 computers. Someone can say, oh, I want to print something. Let's see, where's my printer? Oh, here's a printer on the network. Click print. And then suddenly Tom's computer will send like a 2,000-page document to his own little inkjet printer, which will probably die in the process. Okay? So this is not good at all. This is not a good scenario, but it can happen easily when people do not pay attention and do not understand that your ISP site that goes onto the internet is also a local area network. Okay? If you want to share something to the local area network, all the other customers will see it. Now, if you have something to complain about AT&T, this may not be a very bad mechanism to share your complaint letter because it will just show up on all the other computers and say, complaint about blah, 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 blah. So, and when AT&T comes around and say, but you're not supposed to do that, oh, I didn't know that it's going to the other computers, right? Okay? Are you guys getting the idea, how the local area network concept works? And how it is dangerous because the other side, going to the internet, is also considered a quote-unquote local area network, except it is a huge one. Okay? Are there any questions so far? Yes?
Doesn't that mean that anybody that you're sending your share file to could get into your computer also?
Well, it depends on how you qualify getting into your computer. They can get into the shared folder.
In that folder?
Yeah, they can get into the shared folder if you do not use a password to protect it. Okay. You can configure the share to use a password to protect it. There are many ways to protect it. Okay. But if Tom is not careful and just say, well, I can trust Dick and Harry and open it up without any password protection, then he would have opened it up to all the other 3,000 AT&T customers as well.
Okay, I get that.
Okay. So how do you know that I know these things? I did not read the textbook. Well, I did not learn this because of reading the textbook. I run my own computers on the network, okay? And one computer was connected straight to the Shore West network without anything. But I do have like log files and whatnot, to tell me what happened during the day. And in the log file, I would see these unsolicited invitation to shares. Okay, I will see Tommy's computers want to share his folder with my computer. It's like, I don't know you. And when you look up the IP addresses, they're all Shore West customers. They all share the same network address with my computer. So that tells me that those other computers are connected to the internet without, guess what? A firewall. Okay? So this is an important concept right now because if Tom is not computer savvy, he probably would not be able to identify all the risks involved in networking, open up resources, and whatnot. So what is he going to do? Well, just disconnecting from the internet is not a very viable option these days. I mean, you do need to hook up to the internet at some point. So what happens now is instead of Tom's computer being the bridge, you want to have a firewall being the bridge. Okay? So are we okay so far with this picture? Okay. The next question is, okay, let's just say that Tom is really careful and security is not a concern. But I have a question here. When Harry wants to go to the Moodle website, let's say the Moodle website is over here. Okay? When Harry wants to go to the Moodle website, his computer would identify itself as 192.168.0.3 because that's the computer. That's his only network interface, and therefore Harry's computer has to be identified by this IP address, right? But I said that 192.168.0 something cannot be visible, cannot be used on the internet itself. So what is going on here?
It has to talk to Tom's computer and borrow the other address.
Yep. So Harry's computer will basically send a request. When he formats a request, it is actually directed to my server. Okay, that request will go through the wire. It will get up to here. So basically, Tom's computer will see the request from Harry's computer to say, I want to go outside and go to the Dr. Tech's website and check out something. Okay, but Tom's computer now has to do a translation, because what Tom's computer needs to do is to say, the transmission is coming in from 192.168.0.3, but I will send out the request using my other address. So Tom's computer is now doing the translation. It's translating all the requests coming in from the apartment itself and say, they're not coming from 192.168.0 something, they're all going out as 66.205.78.10. If Dick's computer always, if these two computers both want to go to the Moodle website at the same time, from my perspective, they're all coming from this one single IP address. I would not be able to distinguish which one came from Dick's computer and which one came from Harry's computer. Is that okay so far?
Which one came from Tom's computer?
They would all appear to be coming from this IP address, which is actually corresponding to Tom's computer at this point, yes. Okay? And that's interesting because, sometimes, when I have online tests in Moodle, I can sort by IP address, where people, how people log in and, do their work. And I can tell, with one occasion, 4 different students took the same test from the same IP address within the same time frame.
I was wondering, with connections like this for firewall, do like iPhones have any kind of firewall protection, or is it an IP address?
No, iPhones, Android phones, and whatnot, they go out to the internet directly. So you are basically, at this point. So you have no firewall protection whatsoever. It depends on your ISP. If your ISP is nice, they might do some firewalling for you. But your phone should be able to, you can check your IP address and identify the network portion as opposed to the node portion. And the other nodes of the same local area network should be visible to you. You can actually ping or, tell whether they exist or not. Yep.
It's not really likely to get like a virus or anything on your phone though, because
yes, it is.
it's likely.
Yeah, like an Android phone especially.
Because your phone is nothing more than a computer pretending to be a phone.
No, but aren't most viruses programmed to run on like the common operating systems, or do they make specific ones to attack the operating system on your phone?
That's a very good question. It's a very good point. Basically, whenever an operating system becomes quote-unquote the majority, it will stand a lot of, there will be a high probability that someone will try to write a virus to target that operating system.
Right.
Okay.
And it works the same way for
rare, but you still hear about it.
Sorry?
Cell phones getting viruses, they're very rare.
They're rare, but they're on the rise, because
it's still a concern.
they're on the rise because of 2 things. They're on the rise. Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to ask a question.
Go ahead.
About